There's thousands of Jewish books like this. Many of them have never been printed. So, at least as of today, this has never been printed. So question number 43 that they sent to Ibn Sayyah in the 15th century in Jerusalem, and they say as follows: a certain sage has been uttering the name according to its letters, and a certain rabbi rebuked him for this. But the sage was stubborn in his actions. So what they're describing here is they're saying, Rabbi, help us. There's a sage in our community who's speaking the name Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. And our local rabbi, the leader, rebuked him, and he says, I don't care what you say, I'm a sage. You might be a rabbi, but I'm whatever a sage meant. It's an interesting question. It may have meant he was some kind of mystic, maybe, I don't know. So he's being rebuked for speaking the name, this rabbi whose name we don't know, and that shows you somebody knew how to speak the name in the 15th century. But I thought the Jews don't know the name, right? That's the one thing all scholars can agree on. We should go look at the Gnostic. We should go look at the Greeks. We should go look at the Christians. Anybody but the Jews, because the Jews don't know the name. But here we have one source of a rabbi transmitting the name to his disciple. And in the second case, not only has the rabbi received the name from his rabbi, but he's speaking it out loud and getting in trouble for it. And the interesting thing is Ibn Sayyah rebukes the sage for speaking the name. He says, you're sinning. You're not allowed to speak this name. It's forbidden by our tradition, not by the Torah, but by our tradition. So what we've established here is that the rabbis did know how to pronounce the name. Now, I have here a map of 16 rabbis from all over the Jewish world. And you can see they go from Spain to Egypt to even Israel, Tzfat and Jerusalem, Eastern Europe. And this is, of course, the modern locations. You know, some of these go back to the year 1300. Rabbis who said the name is Yehovah. Some of them go into the 20th century. Ovadia Yosef, who is the leading rabbi of the Sephardic Jews in Israel, who only died a few years ago in the 21st century, in one of his books, he states matter-of-factly that the vowels are Shvach Olam Kamatz, which is Yehovah.
Yeah.
I mean, he states it as a fact. Like, it's not even a fact that's in dispute. I don't know if we have time. Can we get to some of them now?
Yeah, we can, but perhaps I need to explain. You and I were watching some YouTube videos, actually done in Israel, of people that were explaining, Gentiles explaining how to pronounce the name, and it was like, stopping every 30 seconds and just laughing because of just things that are just plain dead wrong, not a fact at all.
One of the
they're speaking as if it's true.
Right, well, one of the claims in particular that I've heard from a number of sources, and like I said, there's a serious book by a guy named The Tetragrammaton in Western Christianity, by this scholar who wrote this book in 2015. I think his name Wilkinson. And in the book, he states matter-of-factly, no Jew ever said the name was Yehovah. That's an invention of the Christians. And I said, challenge accepted. And I sat down and started to do the research, and I'd heard that from other sources as well, but that was a straw that broke the camel's back. This isn't some crazy guy on YouTube who doesn't know Hebrew. This is a scholar who wrote a serious book about the Tetragrammaton as it developed in Western Christian sources.
And he's making a statement that
these
sources just blot out immediately.
So what he forced me to do was say, okay, are there Jewish sources that say the name is Yehovah? So what we established up until now is there's Jewish sources that say we know what the name is. They don't tell us how it was pronounced. For that, we have to go to other sources. That's one of the painful things in the Book of the Divine Name. They're describing this whole ceremony of the rabbi revealing it to his disciple, but they don't tell us the pronunciation with the vowels. They're torturing us. They're almost teasing us, right? The rabbi teaches his disciple in 1225, but doesn't tell me. What good is that to me? So I found sources where it does have the pronunciation of the name. And as I told you, the first one I found was one that took me 30 seconds to find once I looked. Before I didn't look, I didn't know about it, didn't really even think about it. But once I asked the question, I was able to find a rabbi within 30 seconds who unequivocally said the name was Yehovah. Now, the other ones, I spent months searching and researching. It was not easy at all to find.
It was actually teamwork.
The teamwork was on the something else. This was something I actually did myself. That was the manuscripts of the name, which maybe we'll get to in a future episode. I'm actually talking about rabbis who tell us that the name is Yehovah. And you could say, well, who cares what a rabbi says? And that was actually my attitude at first. And to be honest with me, what's far more important to me, which hopefully we'll get to eventually, which is how the name is written in Hebrew manuscripts. And in Hebrew manuscripts, as of today, I have 52 manuscripts where the name is written as Yehovah. But
Manuscripts of the Bible.
Of the Bible itself. And to me, one manuscript of the Bible written by the scribes who preserved the oracle of God are more important than a million rabbis. But it's worth seeing what these rabbis say, because the claim is, well, no Jew ever thought it was Yehovah. Well, let's see what the rabbis say. Let the rabbis speak.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that has been taught in the Western Gentile Christian world is that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, that they inserted the vowels of Adonai in it.
That's one of the claims.
And that's
a fact.
That's a fact.
That's
but
not
what
true.
is it? It's not true. It's just,
Right.
just plain not true at all.
It's not true at all, and it's not what the rabbis thought either. So, Michael, I have to tell you that if I didn't have these databases that I could search for these sources, there's no way I would have found it. And to date, I found 16 rabbis who say the name is Yehovah. I actually have a study on my website, nehemiahswall.com, called 10 Rabbis Speak Out on the Name, just because 10 sounds better than 16. And also 10 in Jewish tradition is a prayer quorum. If you get together 10 men, that's a prayer quorum, and we have 10 rabbis, technically 16, who say the name is Yehovah. I could have never found this if I didn't have a database that allowed me to search for certain things. And I'll tell you, Michael, I searched those databases for Yahweh, and I couldn't find it. But what I did find is rabbis repeatedly saying that the name is Yehovah. Now, one of the databases I searched, I mentioned before, is a database of over 100,000 books from Bar-Ilan University. And bear in mind, of those, approximately 16, and I say approximately, they're not all in the database. Some of them aren't even in the database. I had to find them in other places. But somewhere around that, around 10 of these sources are in the database, which means around 99,990 rabbis in the database don't tell us how to pronounce the name.